part that you want to show it.
Okay. God bless you folks tonight. We greet you in the name of the Lord tonight.
Yes.
It's Brother Pearry Green at Tucson Tabernacle and Sister Louise from up
Yes.
in British Columbia, Canada. We're going to show that on the screen so they'll be able
Yes,
to see it, but you
brother.
just have the Bible there so they can see it. And,
I want to say tonight I'm more relaxed than I was the first time. So
Good.
I phoned the husband and he said to greet you all for him, and that he went up the highway and told Walter, Rose, and Maggie where I was, and they said, "Oh, we should have went with her." And they said to send greetings, and they appreciate you very much. And Russ said to me, he said, "Are you okay?" He said, "Yes, I'm fine." And he loved to be here.
Did he say you could stay a while?
Pardon?
Is he ready for you to come back home, or did he say you could stay a while?
He said, "You went down there to serve the Lord." He said, "I understand." He said, he wasn't objecting against, no.
It's okay for you to be down
yes.
here. You have your husband's permission.
Yes.
You got a good
He
Christian
said,
husband.
Go to Tucson Tabernacle, he said, with my blessing, he said. And tell them to pray for us, he said. Oh.
All right, let's begin tonight maybe by showing the pictures. Then Louise can tell us who it is. Then as we talk about these people, you'll know who they are. I don't know what order you've got them in.
Oh.
So we're going to put them up on the new, project them on a new screen tonight. Can we do that? Or am I getting ahead of myself? They're already there? Where's mine? I can't see.
Oh, that Grizzly Summit right there, right there.
Okay, this little button right here.
You
is
have
the one
to
you
understand, I'm shaking.
push. Okay.
This is Brother Branham. Here's Grizzly Summit right here, up here. This valley, it's called Grizzly Summit. This one here, Brother Branham is standing in front of this hill. It goes up here. Out this is called Seven Roaring Mountains. My
Seven Roaring
brothers
Mountains.
used to sing the song, and I forgot the tune to it. I think this is the caribou he killed.
Bring me another chair. I got to sit over there so I can turn around and look at that. I have a different name for that mountain.
Well, the outfit that has it now, it's called Heliporty.
Yeah. Well, I was on a hunting trip with Brother Branham at that place, and we climbed that mountain back there.
Yes.
And when I got through with it, I called it Fat Man's Misery.
Oh. Well, you remember he preached 7 church ages. Okay, if you climb this here, this Seven Roaring Mountain hill, out this where there's 7 mountains standing like this in a row.
Yes.
Yes. And I was testifying to Dan Clemency and Vicky one day, and he said, "Perhaps I should fly you over there, and someday we'll get the testimony," he said. So we hadn't gotten around to it. But this hunting area, it's what the Art Thompson has this hunting area now, this one here.
Mr. Thompson has a hunting area now.
Yes, he has.
Hand me that pointer there, please. I'll give you all some testimony.
Okay.
When I hunted with Brother Branham here, what we did is when we went up this hill, over on the other side, we saw a caribou laying on a mound on the other side, and all the others gave us their lunch, and Dennis and I went down the hill, and I killed a 39-inch caribou, and we packed it back out. And we got back about midnight, and we took the 25 pounds of meat we brought back and laid it on the refrigerator, that right there.
Oh, wow.
And the next morning we got up, the dogs had got it. And we went around and found it, and Brother Branham trimmed the dog chewings off of it, and that's what we ate for lunch that day.
Oh.
So I want you to know what kind of a man he really was, you know. But this is the 42-inch caribou horns here. I was not on this particular trip, but that's the horns of the 42-inch caribou that he had killed the year before when he was there. But This tent is the same one they used, and that we used it on the same trip. There's a lot of wonderful things happened there, and our sleeping tent was over on this side, and we slept there. But I was just talking to Sandra before this, we came in here tonight, because we had a dartboard set up in front of this tent. And when we got snowed in, well, that's all we could do is just play dart games. And that's where I noticed that Brother Branham, every time he threw the darts, he hit the bullseye, unless he was playing a game against one of us. And he would never win a game if he was playing one of us. And I noticed that when he's playing by himself, he could put him in the bullseye. But when he's playing us, he would always lose the game. And that's when I asked him, Brother Branham, why don't you win? And he said, Brother Green, if there's any pleasure in winning, why don't I give it to you? And he taught me from the book of Galatians, that's the spirit of emulation, that people are competitive and they think they just got to win. But Brother Branham's attitude is if there's any joy in winning, why not give it to you? His joy wasn't in winning. His joy was just playing the game. And I also noticed that some days we got snowed in, we'd be inside the tent where it was warm. And if I happened to be outside and Brother Branham would come out the tent, the mountain was covered with snow the year I was there. And I have some pictures of that. But I noticed that every time Brother Branham came out of the tent, there'd always be a whirlwind up here on top of this mountain. And so I got my camera, an 8mm, and I stood outside, and others came out of the tent and I took it, and it never happened. But every time Brother Branham came out of that tent, that whirlwind came on top of that mountain. And I have that on film. And it's on, we've converted into 16mm, and I think now it's on video. And I told Sandra today that we need to make that available to the public, because to me, I believe that was a supernatural sign to me while I was there. So, excuse me if I horn in on your testimony, but it's also real to me.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love to hear this too.
Thank you. The next one.
Oh,
Now,
there.
that is the caribou with the 42-inch horns. Mm-hmm. And they measured them from there, around here, and up to there. And they're still 42 inches. Last time I measured them a few years ago, they did not shrink. They stayed 42 inches. And the strange part about this one is that when Brother Branham saw it, usually a caribou has got a horn over the nose here that's like a shovel. But you see, this one's got more of a point out over his face. Now that makes him much more dangerous to fight other animals too, because it's instead of it being a spade-like, he's got a point that he would fight with. Next. That's still another shot of the same.
Oh, there it is.
Now, that is the silver-tip grizzly bear. Yeah. Louise has told us something about that, but let me explain to you what a silver-tip is. See, Brother Brown says there's three kinds. There's the brown, and then there's the black. But what makes him a grizzly is because he has this hump on his back there. But this one is old enough that he's turned white on the top, and that's what makes him a silver-tip grizzly. And in the tapes, Brother Brown talks about the sunlight reflecting off of him, see, because of the gray that's in there. And Brother Branham stepped it off for me from there to there was 9 foot. And this is the rug that he had me stand in the middle of in Jeffersonville when he put his arms around and prayed for me in 1964. The same prayer that he'd prayed 14 years before when I was 16 years old, standing behind the city auditorium in Beaumont, Texas, when I picked him up and put him over in the car. Now, Sister Louise, you got something to tell us about this bear I never had heard before.
The family was camped in that same area. You just seen the first picture there. And at that time I was 7. And
You were 7 years old.
George, Eddie, and I were playing, so Mom said she sent us down to check my dad's trap. He was trying to trap a groundhog out of the hole. Had
traps set, okay.
Mm-hmm. So in the meantime, this grizzly was coming to the camp because the mountain was higher than where we were. The camp was on the slope. So Mom told us, come on back up here, she told us. So we all ran back up there, but she didn't tell us there was danger near. And my sister Elsie was in a camp. She's got a baby, was only 3 months old. So when Mom went back up the hill after Dad and Joe, they went to meet the grizzly, and Mom said, "What are you kids doing here?" They said, "Get back to the campfire." But we told her we want to see what's going on, and Mom said there's a clay up there, which clay means in our language bear. Huh? And Mom said the danger when they shot, he said.
Your mother was saying in your native tongue that there's a bear up there. Okay?
There's a bear up there. She said clay is up there, which is a grizzly. Anyway, there's most of you who have been in the mountains, I don't know. There's a clay, it's black. Yeah? It's coming down on the slope of the mountain here, and the bear was coming down this way. The camp was right here. And Joe and Dad and Mom, they were looking at the grizzly to see what action it's going to have. All of a sudden, the bear, this one here, disappeared right before their eyes. 13 years later, the prophet shot it. Now, that sounds incredible. The 3 elders I have that are still living that saw that happen.
Three men are still living that saw that.
Yes.
Now that was in 1951. You were 7 years old.
Yes.
You were born in 44, and that would have been 51. That your family felt they saw this bear.
Yeah, we've
now,
seen the same bear.
Do you people know enough bears to be able to tell them apart?
Yes, we could.
I want you to understand that point.
Yes.
See, these Indians, they would have recognized a bear.
Yes.
It'd be like you could tell one horse from another and one cow from another.
Because where did the bear go? In the mountains, Brother Pearry, you've been up there. It's all buckbrush, you would call it.
Yes.
And it's all like a desert. You could see everywhere. Where did the bear go?
Well, I have 46 pages of quotes there that I've read 3 times in the past 10 days. And whenever Brother Branham kills the caribou, in the vision he said between where he killed the caribou and back to camp, he would kill this bear. And Bud told him when he killed the caribou, he said, "Brother Branham, I can see everything. There's nothing but caribou moss. And there's no bear here." And they start down the hill, and then they notice that Brother Ed Biscoe has on a green checkered shirt, which was in the vision. And you know, wherever this message is preached, Brother Biscoe is known as the man with the green checkered shirt, which when Brother Branham had told the vision a few nights before, nobody had a green checkered shirt. Brother Biscoe didn't know that Sister Ruth had packed one, and he fell in the creek and got wet, and while they were up getting the caribou, he changed shirts, and then they look down and they see Brother Biscoe with a green checkered shirt on. And at the time they put it on, they never even realized it, but Brother Branham looked and said, "Well, there's the man with the shirt, here's the caribou." And Bud said, "But Brother Branham, I can see for a mile, there's no bear." So they started down the hill, and I can read you the quote where Brother Branham told Bud, he said, "Bud, you know, there was a time when Abraham needed a sacrifice, and Jehovah Jireh provided him a ram." Now, I tell you this because sometimes we in this message, we don't realize what God has really done for us. And Brother Branham tells him, he said, "Bud, you don't doubt it, do you?" He said, "God said, well, just create one." And they walk down the hill. They get about a half a mile from camp. "Well, Brother Branham, there's no bear. I can't see one. There's not one." And Brother Branham turned and looked at me and he said, "Bud, what's that sitting up there?" From where they had just come from. And when I was there with them, Brother Branham sat down on the ground, just like he was a grizzly bear. Now they don't walk around grazing like a cow. They go in the berry patch and they just sit down on their haunches and they take their big claws and they just strip the berries with their claws like this and eat it. And Brother Branham was sitting there like that, eating those, just imitating that bear. And that's where I learned it. I didn't know a bear ate like that. I thought he picked berries like we did, you know, one at a time. But he just used them big old claws like
Yes.
a sifter and just scraped them off of there. And I happened to, my first trip to Jeffersonville in August of 1964, Brother Branham had just got this bear from a taxidermist and had put it in the den in Jeffersonville. And that's the day that Brother and Sister Jackson and I sat for 4 hours in the den with Brother Branham, and he sat there and told us the story of the caribou, the bear. Now, I'd heard about the caribou and the bear on tape. I'd heard all the times of the spoken word, but I had the privilege to hear Brother Branham tell them that day and act them out for us. When he slid out of his chair and got down on the floor like he was taking a nap in the forks of an ash tree, I said, "Prophet?" And I thought to myself, I'm either listening to a prophet of God or this man's the biggest deceiver I've ever listened to. And Louise, he stops, he looks over at me on the other side of the room and says, "Brother Green, don't think like that." Now that'll change your life.
Yes, it did mine too,
Now
because
you had some
that
experience
nerves.
with it. Your experience when he first came up to see your mom, she had
Yes.
heart trouble.
Yes.
And you were not at home. Tell us what happened.
I was in a field with my sister Rose. We were cutting hay with a knife called machete. It's something like a sword, only it's got a handle and it's long. So we're cutting it like this. And in the meantime, we didn't know where Oscar was, and you know. And Joe was coming from his cabin to cross the field, and he stopped midway. And Angus was coming out of Billy's cabin, and Oscar got a hunter with him, it looks like. We couldn't see that. It was about 2.5 miles, I see. And all I could see was they were going like this. They were going like this. And Joe yelled at Angus and said, what they want. And he said, "They want Louise," he said. And he turned to me and said, "I think you know," he said, "they're calling you," he said. And so I thought, gee, why did Oscar brought a hunter and he wants me to come and see what he was doing? Because in our family, a woman, girls, they're not allowed to speak to a man. So I was horrified.
Good doctrine.
Because Oscar would have object, but he wants Mom to be healed.
Brother Branham had come to your camp to pray for your mom who was
Yes.
sick with a heart problem.
Yes.
And you and the others were in the field cutting hay.
Cutting hay.
Now,
Yeah.
your mom couldn't speak English.
No, she couldn't speak English.
And Brother Branham, by discernment, said, "Call Louise."
Yes. And Lila never told him. And I thought, I walked up to him and he told me, "Hi," he said. And I kind of looked down, and because I was a Catholic, of course. And anyway, he said, "My name's William Branham." He said, "I pray for the sick." And at that time, it didn't mean anything to me. It just, I just want to get it over with, you know. Anyway, I didn't know this was the beginning of my life. I didn't know it at that time. Anyway, we went into the cabin. Dad was sitting by Mom, and I thought Mom passed away because she could barely keep her eye open. She was like this. And we were standing at the foot of the bed, and Dad in the cabin has a cardboard box. And when the vision come to Brother Branham, I thought he was reading something one of my brothers scribbled on.
On the wall?
Yeah, on the wall, because I never heard of vision. I never seen, you know, this is the first time I saw him, and I didn't know what I was, you know, getting into. Anyway, he said, he was looking on the wall, and he said, "A big city," he said, "her daughter is going to the big city," and I knew he meant me. And he said, "She's going in to be a nurse," he said. Before time, in my heart, I always want to be head nurse or to work in an operating room.
And your family didn't know you had
no,
this stuff?
I didn't.
This is something you planned to do without your parents knowing?
Without their knowing it. We were just going to make up story and say, oh, I'm going to get a job and I'll take off for this training. Huh? This is what my plan was.
Now, from the time you were 5 until you was 13, the government had sent you to a boarding school.
To residential school,
to teach you the white ways,
yes,
and to teach you English so you could bring the culture back to your parents.
Yes, that's
and
right.
In the meantime, you're home, and do you know how old you were then? People asked me, and I didn't.
Yeah, I think maybe it was 20. Who is good at
Well, was
math?
it 60 or 61 that this happened?
It was 63, wasn't it, when he came that time?
Okay, might have been, okay, 63, because I met you in 64, okay.
Okay, this was September 12th. I thought that's what it was, because in northern British Columbia, the Grizzly does not open until September 15th.
So he told your parents you were planning on going away to Vancouver?
No, he didn't tell them, he was telling me.
You, but they heard that?
Yeah, they heard that. And also, back in my younger years, I was going to marry this rancher. And I thought, oh, I'm going to be a head nurse, I'm going to, you know, was just planning. This was deep in here. I thought nobody knew, and here he was pulling it out of me by discernment. And he was looking at the wall, and he said, you're going away to be a nurse, and also the man you had in mind, he said, he's not for you, he said. And right there, my dreams come crushing around me. I thought, this is over, oh, you know, but I didn't. You don't dare cry out that way when you're standing in the presence of the angel. You sure don't. Isn't it, Brother King? Yeah. And those thoughts were gone. They just dismissed my mind like that.
Now, before she was born, her father had agreed with a friend of his that her father...
That horse I was standing by,
Yeah, her father had... The horse that we're going to show you, the mother of that horse was well trained by her father. We said this on the first one, but we need to review for this second one. And there were 7 brothers that got stranded on an island in the river, and her father, with his trained horse, commanded this horse to go into the river, rescue the men, and the horse made 7 trips, went in and got the men. And one of those men came out and said to her dad, if we ever have children, we need to have them get married. And so before she was born, she was pledged by her custom of her tribe to marry this man's son, which he was a boy, and that man had a son, and her father had a girl. And so she grew up all her life pledged to this man. And in their tribe, that's law. Now, at this time, this boy was there, and he wasn't living right. And this is when Brother Branham said, the man is not the man for you.
You had in mind, it's not for you.
And at 17, he drowned. Yeah. But she still felt obligated later on in life. And now Brother Branham told you something about if you'll be a nurse?
Be a nurse for the Lord, he said. Because, and I didn't know at that time what he meant, but he said, be his nurse. He said, here's Brother Branham. He said, Louise is a good nurse. Louise is a good nurse, he said.
Louise is a good nurse?
Yes.
But take care of your parents?
To take care of my parents.
And what was the reward?
A wonderful, he said, when it comes to that time, he said, may it be one of his servants, he said. Now, at that time, Russ was not serving God. But he agreed, like when he knew what I believed, but he said, you can go to church, you can do that. He was used to be a Catholic, but he worked in the oil and gas company. I guess you might say knowledge went to his head, and he thought he was just it. I don't mean to criticize him, but the man thought he was somebody, and he was prejudiced toward native.
Prejudiced to the natives, okay.
Yes, he was married to his first wife named Lel. They got 2 wonderful girls. So anyway,
What year did you get married?
19 something. Oh, imagine forgetting your wedding. Anyway, Lel went on, and so Russ was single, and I was still single. I didn't intend on marrying, you know. I was just with my girlfriends, and Jeannie said to me, my girlfriend that I always go visit, she said, he liked you, you know. I said, I know. I said, but I don't like his way, that he's drinking and he's, you know, running around. And 2 years later, we did get married, and he was still unbeliever. And then as time went on, he came into the message. And I don't know who testified to him, and I don't know what happened there.
You never did become a nurse, though, huh?
No, I never did become a nurse.
Except taking care of your parents.
Taking care of the parents, he said, be a nurse for the Lord Jesus Christ, he said. And so it means, like, say, your word does like medicine, it says, something like that. So had been helping people by the grace of God, like, you know, were kind to them and talk to them, visit them in their home and everything. And maybe that's what he meant. I've been seeking, you know, what he meant by be a nurse for the Lord. I don't know what he meant.
Well, I can't think of a better one than taking care of your parents, because it even says you honor your mother and father and your days will be prolonged.
He said, well, if you look after your mom and dad, God will give you a wonderful man, he said. And there was a question that come up there because there's oil and gas up there. And he phoned me because of the Generation book. He worked for the oil and gas, and his name was George. And he was praising Russ. He said, aren't you lucky, he said, to have this, to have her for a wife? And Russ said, what do you mean? He said, well, you know, Brother Branham said the man that married her will be a Christian too. You know, just like that, out of the blue, like that.
Because he knew that, he read that.
Mm-hmm. He read the Generation book. George is a Christian, but his wife is not. So she was in Winnipeg somewhere, and Russ asked him, he said, where's your wife? He said, oh, she must be home. He said, she doesn't believe, like, you know, she's not a Christian. He said, she rebelled against this message, he said. And he said to Russ, he said, if I got a wife like you have, he said, I'd be very happy man, he said. And I thought, thank God. Now Russ heard something now. You know, that's when the Lord was working on him. God was merciful to him. He was bringing him in slowly. But now today, he is... he listened to the tape, he's studying the word, he's just waiting to be baptized. Yes.
Lord willing,
thank God for your prayers. I just
we're going to try to take care of that.
Yes.
Let's see another picture. See what's next. Now, tell us who these are.
Yes, Brother Branham and Oscar.
That's Oscar.
Yeah.
That's Brother Branham.
That's Brother Branham.
The same tent in a different location. That's Bud Southwick over there. Now, this is the hunt where the boys took one of Brother Bud's best horses off to bring a caribou back into camp, and it smelled of bear and spooked. And they came back and told Brother Bud they'd lost his horse. Now, that horse was worth about $800 then. That was a lot of money because it was a horse that was well trained. It would pack a stove on her back, you know, without being spooked. And Bud was very unhappy about losing the horse. And the Lord gave Brother Branham a vision. And he told Bud, he said, Bud, I don't know when it'll be, but I saw you take a halter and go catch the horse. And in just a few minutes in this camp, they heard, Arr! Now, you don't know what that is, that's a horse.
We're calling you.
Now, if you go to a church where the pastor says, days of miracles over, and that's the thing of divine healing, that's a donkey. But this one went, Arr! And Bud took the halter and went and found his horse. And while he's gone, Oscar tells Brother Branham, you prophet, me lose horse. You tell me where horse is. Referring to the scripture where Saul told Samuel where the donkeys were. And Brother Branham asked Oscar, Oscar, do you believe? Yes. And Brother Branham prayed, and he said, Oscar, all I do is I see your horse and some others in the snow. And that summer, that winter passed, Oscar didn't find his horse. The summer came. Brother Branham says on these tapes that Oscar wrote him a letter to Jeffersonville. Somebody did, and said we didn't find the horse. And Brother Branham wrote back and said, all I did is I saw your horse and others in the snow. Oscar, listen to his simplicity. Prophets say horse in snow, me go where snow is. Yes. So he went higher into the mountains at that time of the year in the summer where the snow was, and he found his horse and some others. And that fall, when I went up there hunting with Brother Branham and I were standing in front of Bud Southwick's tent. Brother Branham looks out across the opening is coming. He said, here comes Oscar's sister, Louise, riding that black horse I saw. And that's where I met Louise. Yes. When she came up there. Let's see what the next picture is. Didn't mean to steal. Now, there's the picture I took.
Yes.
That's Louise when she's about 20. And Brother Branham was with us in the black horse, and I took the picture. But
that horse name is Ada.
Ada?
Ada, eagle.
Eagle?
Yes.
In your language?
Yes.
How do you spell it?
Ada.
A-D-A?
Yes. In case we have some university people here, we might spell it wrong. Hopefully they would correct us.
The horse, the name of the horse was Eagle in English.
Yeah, eagle. But in our language, it's called Ada.
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 Always say it, Ada.
Ada.
Eagle.
Eagle.
What a horse. Was it male or female? Do you know?
That's a female.
It was a female.
Yes.
Now, it was her mother that was
the one that
the trained horse that your dad sent across the river to rescue the other end.
That black mare. They call him black mare. And Brother Branham, the night that year rode out with him, he was riding a horse named Midnight.
Midnight.
Midnight or Night?
Night.
Yeah, Night. And black mare, she rescued 7 men from drowning. And those of you who go up on Alaska Highway, the river, it's called Racing River. It's mile 419. The river's still there. For witness, it's still there. Yes, where black mare rescued her life to save those 7 men.
At the command of your father?
Yes. And these men are from North Dakota.
Okay. Let's see the next one. Now, this is a Bible that Brother Branham sent Louise. It was new when you got it.
Yes, but it was falling apart.
Yeah, I understand.
Well, there's a story behind it.
Okay.
When Mom went to be with the Lord, my sisters, they stole it. They thought it belonged to her. So Lucy had it. Lucy, in turn, gave it to Elsie. Elsie's my oldest sister, and she has 3 boys and a girl. And as long as this Bible was in her house, she was blessed. The Lord blessed her in every way.
Let's turn the page on it if we can.
Oh, there it is.
Now, that is Brother Branham's handwriting, and that is Louise MacDonald's Bible. So your sister wound up with it when your mother died.
Yes.
And it was in her home, and you say there was a blessing.
Yes, she was blessed. The Lord honored her for her.
Then how'd you get it back?
Well, she's got a daughter named Wanda. If Wanda's listening to this, I don't mean to say it, but truth is truth. So Wanda said, when she went up there, I said, Wanda, does your mom have the Bible? She's seen this. She said, oh, I know what it looks like. I'll look, she said. And 2 days later, she come back. She said, yes, it's there, she said. And she said, I'll tell you what. She said, I'll steal it back for you, she said.
I don't think
So-
that's stealing. I think that's just possessing the
So-
land.
And she did. She got it back for me. And I don't know, every time the weather turned bad or something, Elsie, no, this is God's word. So this is why the Bible is kind of damaged. She leave it out like this because God could see his word and he would change the weather for her. And every time she thought that whatever she desired, it happened. And her Rose was living next door. Rose and Maggie, they lived together. So they thought Elsie was casting a spell on them. But they didn't know that God answered prayers. Yes.
You have to understand that these people were raised in a lot of traditions and customs
Yes.
and superstition and so forth. But you know, God honored those things. It's like I told the last time when Brother Branham got down and bathed himself in smoke with those Indians in South Africa. And Brother Jackson questioned, what are you doing? Brother Branham told him, he said, they believe that there was a spirit that protected their forefathers, and they want that same spirit to come protect them. And Brother Branham told Brother Jackson, it's just like when the men went to the river and said, where is the God of Elijah? Yeah. Well, excuse me, folks, but there's times when I call on the God of Brother Branham. And Brother Branham told Brother Jackson to pray to the God that's within you. And I believe that Brother Branham served the true and living God. And so I don't hesitate to say that I serve the same God that William Branham served. And when these people did this, God honored that. That was faith that maybe they didn't know what it was. But Brother Branham said it's the sincerity of the heart that it takes to make it work that way. So God bless that. Is there any other pictures of that Bible that was there? Let's see if there was. I thought there was.
There's a rainbow.
All right, now this is a mountain that's there in the area, and you can see the rainbow. This one, the other night we couldn't see it in the black and the white. But tell us, Louise, where this rainbow is. And it appears daily.
Yes, it appears daily. Even Russ testified about this right here. Right here is where the Indian prophet lived. I'd say maybe 500 years ago, before the civilization. And Mom wasn't born.
There was an Indian camp here.
Yeah,
which
Indian camp
was occupied by the Indians, and in there was an elderly man that was considered a prophet by those Indians. And
he prophesied among his people that there is coming among you a prophet, liken unto me, he tells them, and said, before Jesus returns back to earth.
And this rainbow appears?
Every morning to honor the prophet, what he said.
That's what your people believe?
And his name is Clay Choshi. Clay Choshi, the prophet's name was Clay Choshi E.
Okay.
Now, who has the... Now, I couldn't spell it. I don't know.
Does that have a meaning in English?
It means the swift one. Clay Choshi means in our language the swift one.
The swift one?
The swift one.
Oh, the swift one. Now,
yes.
What was the results whenever he prophesied there'd be a prophet?
Well,
the people believed it.
Yeah, the people believed it, and each when in the camp, the little boys were born to them, and each mother thought, well, maybe that's him. Huh? So they dedicate the little boys by sending them into the wilderness.
Listen to this. 4 or 5 years old.
4 or 5 years old.
They would send them into the wilderness
alone to get revelation for themselves. Like some would say, an owl will pluck his feather and throw that down for me, and the boy will pick it up. And he could only tell his dad only. And they'll look for an interpreter in the camp and say, what mean is this? What kind of life he's supposed to live? This is what they go out in the wilderness for. So,
in the danger with the bears and the wolves and
Well, we didn't fear that because if God sent them, He would protect them. Yes. And I don't know what they did for food. 4 or 5-year-old boy alone in the wilderness. I don't know, maybe the mother tried to teach it to pick berries, things like that.
Because she knew their little boy
Yes.
had to go.
Yes.
And every little boy, they did this because they were looking for a prophet.
They were looking for the one that says there is coming a prophet among you before the coming of the Lord Jesus Christ.
Well,
And when Lila testified to Oscar and said, there's a man that prays for the sick, and he's coming from the United States. And he also lay hands on people and they get well. And when Mom heard that, he said, could this be the one? Could this be the one?
because the tribe was expecting somebody.
Yeah, when I was standing there by him, that's what he was talking. He was interpreting that back to me because Mom told me that story. Because I didn't ask him how did he saw me in a vision or anything. He said he doesn't sleep to get these things. He said it by revelation, he said. And also he said, like he broke into my thought, this was him and I were just talking when I was standing there by the horse. And then all of a sudden he said, sister, he went like this, he said, I'll never forget down at the Ohio River when the angel of the Lord told him as John the Baptist was sent, so will your...
That's what he told me when I turned and said,
Yes.
Brother Branham, I perceive you to be a prophet.
Yes, he told me the same thing. And that's when I say I lost my mind. I don't know. Everything just went blank. If I got any plan, they died right there. So I was a different person when I went back to the camp. I was so high on, I don't know what it was, like I was walking on a cloud or something, and Mom thought I was sneaking a drink from my brother. So he had Rose to check all my stuff, He said, and Rose said I was with her all the time. He said, I didn't see any liquor. And he said, she's even staggering around. He said, I know she has something somewhere. And Oscar, who was listening to all this, said, he said, Mom, he said, you wanted somebody to talk to her, didn't you? He said, the prophet did, and it fixed her for good, he said.
Amen.
Yes. Yes.
Now, does this rainbow still appear?
Yes, it does. Yes.
Still an anointed place, huh?
Yes, it's still in an
How far is this from where Brother Branham was?
Well, just 2 miles. It's in a park now, and you can go there, drive up there, and walk around.
You can go to this spot now?
Yes, you can go to that spot. There's a road there. Yeah, it's a park now.
Well, is it part of that area that Brother Branham prayed, Lord, let me live here during the millennium?
That was in Grizzly Summit.
Okay.
Yeah, that
all right.
was in Grizzly Summit.
How far is that from this place?
I'm not too good at mileage, brother. How far would Grizzly Summit be? Now,
Well,
this is near the road, where
Okay.
Butts Camp is.
Okay.
So if you have to ride horses to get into the mountains, so how far would that be?
About 15 miles
About
back.
15,
Okay.
maybe I'd say 20 miles.
Okay.
I
Well,
would
it's in the same
estimate
area, though.
in the same
it's
area,
in the
though,
Toad River Alaskan Highway.
On
At
Alaska
mile
Highway.
442,
Yes.
and the river...
And the place where Brother Branham shot the grizzly, the creek is called Groundhog Creek.
Groundhog Creek.
Yeah. Ahead of that Groundhog Creek is Grizzly Summit, because Groundhog Creek got 3 creeks running into it. There's the main Toad, West Toad, and Garnahoo Pass.
Main Toad, West Toad,
And Garnahoo Pass.
Groundhog Pass.
Yeah,
And
Garnahoo.
that's where the water drains off of that
Yes.
particular area into the Toad River.
Into the Toad River, yes.
And that's sort of the way Bud's territory was laid out.
Yes.
All the water that drained from that mountain into the Toad River,
Into the Toad
west
River, yes.
of the Alcon Highway, all the way to the Pacific, was Bud's hunting territory.
Yes.
And that's where the grizzly, the caribou,
and
the other bear that Brother Branham saw, all of them
yes,
born,
it's
raised,
all
or
in
created
that
there.
same. Yes, they were all created there.
And that's where your family lived.
Yes, the night, the day I went to see the prophet, I didn't even know he was there. I had a dream, and the dream said to me, it says, I don't know who was talking to me because it was dark in the cabin. I couldn't see because Rose was laying over here, I was over here. And this dream says, I never read a Bible in them days. I didn't even know what it looked like. We were forbidden to have them because I was a Catholic. This voice said, it showed me, you remember where Brother Branham was waiting for me at the foot of a hill when I thought you guys were way ahead. I was trying to rein this horse back because she's got a bad habit of kicking and biting other strange horses. So that's why I didn't want to go near, let him go, her go near the other horses. So as I was going on the trail, and there was Brother Branham waiting for me. You were with him, were you? And this dream said to me, it says, Romans 10, Romans 10, 8 to 11, it says, when you awake, he said, read this.
Romans chapter 10, verses
8 to 10 to 11. I didn't have the Bible then. So we'll have Brother Green write what's written in there. That was.
You've, you got it open there.
Yes.
That if thou shalt confess with thy mouth the Lord Jesus, and shalt believe in thine heart that God hath raised him from the dead, thou shalt be saved. For with the heart man believeth unto righteousness, and with the mouth confession is made unto salvation. For the scripture saith, whosoever believeth on him shall not be ashamed, 9, 10, 11 of Romans 10.
8 to 11.
Okay, but what saith it? The word is nigh thee, even in thy mouth and in thine heart. That is the word of faith which we preach.
Yes.
And that's the Lord. A voice spoke and told you that.
Yes, it
like
said,
in a dream.
Yes.
And then
it
when
said, this man I was about to write with that day. I don't know to this day what the meaning of this is. Or what is, the word is nigh thee, even in thy mouth and in thine heart, in the word of faith that which we preach. And when we come there, and Mom was talking to Brother Branham, she was healed, and Dad come out to see him. This got something to do with it. Anyway, Brother Branham was talking to Mom and said, Sister, you're healed now. And she said, yes. And she said, now we can die happy because we have seen, like say the Lord Christ, she said. Now we have seen his prophet, she said. She was talking in Indian. Brother Branham heard her speak in English.
Understand this. Her mother said this in the Indian tongue. Can you say that to us in the Indian tongue? Now let's.
Mom done zegi tu rasta I nache de zegi needed out.
And Brother Branham understood it in English.
Understood it in English. And when he talked to her, when he told her, Sister, how you're healed and how you're doing, she heard him speak in Indian.
In the Beaver language.
In Beaver language. And Ankis, who was standing there, said to Brother Branham after they were talking about the Holy Ghost, and said, Brother Branham, he said, when we're living far in the bush, he was concerned about that in them days. Dad used to get sick out in the wilderness. And he said, what shall we do? Because we can't just run and get a priest because he's so far and he might die between them. And he like I said, he's very stern with me, very strict. It's like you, you mothers know how you have to constrain your 2-year-old or something like that. That's the way he was with me. He was awfully strict with me. He turned to me and said, "You speak the word," he said. At that time, I didn't know what it meant. But before I wrote out with him, Romans chapter 10, verses 8 to 11. And I never read that. I dismissed it from my mind. Later on, Lila and I read that. And she said, "You got to get a minister to interpret this to you." And I said, "What does it mean?" He said, "It just means what it says," she said. Because she was a strict Christian too, you know, she was a real believer. And so was Brother.
You're talking about Lila Southwick?
Yeah, I'm talking about Lila Southwick.
Okay, now
yes.
Lila was a very small woman.
Yes.
But her husband, Bud, was a cowboy. Mm-hmm. And he'd become a game guide.
Yes.
Up there in the territory.
In territory,
and
yes.
They were friends of Brother Biscoe's. Mm-hmm. And that's how Brother Branham got acquainted with them to come.
Oh, that was, yeah.
To come to Bud, Bud being a guide, had offered Brother Branham a hunt. And Brother Branham says in a quote that he said he offered me a free hunt, and he said, "I'll take anything free. You know, I'm always after something free." So he went up there, and that's when they told him about your mother being sick.
Yes.
And he wanted to come pray for her. But on one of the trips, Brother Branham found out that one of Bud's brothers, now what was his name that had the epilepsy?
Curtis.
Curtis was his name.
Yes.
I've always thought it was Ted, but
Ted,
you said Curtis,
yes.
okay.
Curtis, they call him.
Okay.
Yes.
And he had seizures. And Brother Bud mentioned it to Brother Branham, and they were riding up the trail with the pack horses, Bud leading and Brother Branham in the back. They said they had a bunch of young horses, and some of them got off into muskeg.
Oh.
Now in the books, it says they got off in mesquite. And I learned today that it's not mesquite, because they don't have mesquite up there, but it's muskeg.
It's muskeg.
And she tells us that it's like a bog.
Yes.
Brother Branham said something like quicksand. And this horse got off in this muskeg, and he jumped in there and tied a rope around it, and the other horses pulled him out. And after he got that straightened out, then he said the Lord showed him Curtis with one of these seizures, and he caught up with Bud and told him, said, "I got a word for the Lord. The next time your brother has a seizure, take his shirt off of him and throw it in the fire." And so Bud tells the family that and tells Lila. And the day comes when Curtis is at the house with Lila alone, and he has a seizure. And Brother Branham says she jumps right straddle of him and tears his shirt off of him and throws it in the fire. And he never had another seizure. Yeah, I didn't see Curtis, but I did see Lila. I saw the cabin where it happened. I saw the stove the shirt was burned in. Yes. But you know, it's something, just an act of faith. It's like a prayer cloth. You know, no healing in that, but it inspires that faith. I'll tell you something that I haven't told you, but I think you'll appreciate. You remember Lila had developed arthritis very bad.
Yes, I've seen that, yes.
And they used to come down here in the wintertime some, you know, to enjoy the warmer weather. She and Bud came in either a pickup or a camper or a motorhome or something. They'd stay out of the house. And one year, Bud and Lila came through, and they came through the Edmonton area up there, and there was a couple up there that had arthritis real bad. And when Bud and Lila got to the house, the couple, to her surprise, come bounding out of the house to help her get out of the car. "Well, what happened to you people?" she asked. And they told Lila about going down to Mexicali to see a Mexican doctor down there that gave them Laetrile. And Lila, when she got down there, she wanted to know if I would make arrangements to take her to Mexico. And Brother Vernon Harris is sitting back there, took us over there in a private airplane, and we went across the border, and Lila saw this doctor. This doctor and his father gave Lila a shot of Laetrile in her back where it hurt. He didn't ask, Who's your grandfather? Who's this? Who's that? Where do you hurt? I got arthritis. So where did it start? Right here. So he laid her down, pulled her blouse up, gave her a shot, come out there and gave her 6 months supply of pills, which the first 30 days it had Laetrile in it, and I don't know what the other 6 months was. But Bud and Lila came back across the border. I went to the drugstore and paid $126 for the pills. And came back. Brother Vernon Harris flew the 4 of us back here, those 3 and himself, back here. And Lila at our house took those pills. And in 3 days, I saw her hands become like this. Just, and everybody was telling, well, that'll kill you. That's got side effects, that Laetrile. And here's what I told Lila, sitting in that office with her in that doctor's office there waiting. And when we got there that morning, there was over 100 people in that waiting room. And they gave her a number and told her her appointment would be about 3 o'clock that afternoon. So we come back across the border, went to the motel to get some rest, and went back over there about 2 o'clock. And I sat down. There was 45 people still in the waiting room, and some of them was Catholic nuns. There was a man there from Texas, and like me, I asked, I said, have you been here before? Oh, this is my 4th trip. Well, first time I came up here, I couldn't even move my neck. I was like this. Look here, what I can do now. And I had a testimony meeting going on in that waiting room. And about every 3 or 4 minutes, that doctor would come to the door and call a name or a number, and they'd go in there, stay 3 or 4 minutes, and come out. And I told Lila, I said, Lila, he's doing something to help these people. And Brother Branham said, if you got confidence in anybody, they can help you. And I said, so let's pray now and believe that whatever he's going to do is going to help you. And Lila and I prayed like that, and she goes in there and she comes out, and I said, what do you do? She said, well, I only had a needle about this big, about that big around. And it was probably like a syringe you give a horse, you know. But what he did is he gave her a massive dose of Laetrile, because I went back over there 4 times after that to get her this 6 month supply of pills. And I got very well acquainted with this Dr. Joseph over there. And got to where I could call him on the phone, and he'd mail me a prescription. I could go over there and get them, or down here at Nogales and pick them up without that. FDA didn't approve them here in America. So they were considered a quack medicine. But Lila told me that 3rd or 4th day when she moved like this, she said, Brother Green, this stuff may kill me, but I'd rather have 6 months like this than 20 years like this.
Yes.
And I saw that happen. And I've told this story because I want people to be helped. I don't want people to have to suffer. And this is what Brother Branham would have taught. When Brother Branham went to South Africa, the brothers over there, because of H.G. Lake's teachings, they didn't believe in aspirins or medicine, anything else, and they asked Brother Branham, what would you do if your son Billy Paul had a headache? And Brother Branham said, well, if it wasn't serious, I'd give him an aspirin. And I mean, some of those people turned him down because he'd taken aspirin. There's no righteousness in that. It's the faith you have. We know who the healer is. The medicine that you take is just the chemical that God uses to help what there's happening in the body. And I don't know where that fits in or anything or not, but you knew Lila. And,
yes.
and as long as I could get her the pills every 6 months, Lila enjoyed this. Because up there in that area, in the wintertime, y'all only have about 2 hours of daylight.
Yes, that's true.
From 2 to 4.
From 2 to 4.
Lived in the dark all the time.
In December 21st, we only got 2 hours daylight.
And then in the summertime, you got 22 hours daylight.
June 21st is the longest. June 21st.
You got 22 hours of daylight.
Yes.
But in the wintertime, you've only got a couple of hours of daylight.
Yep.
That's very depressing, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Because if you don't have electricity, you're living in the dark. That's why my sister there, Sister Sonia? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that.
Yeah.
She was so gracious, she's so understanding, spiritual. Anyway, we went to the store and we got them some candles. Now, they'll appreciate that very much.
You bought some candles here.
Candles from here, from Tucson. Imagine.
To take back up there.
Yes.
Because Maggie still lives in the dark sometimes.
Yes.
Huh?
And then she goes to the argue with Walter because she got no light. And Walter's trying to console her, no, dear, you know. And they share little candles like this up there. They borrow from one another to get ready for bed. because they're 142 miles north of Fort Nelson. That's the closest door they got. And
142 miles from the
miles.
closest store.
So if we
You
want
sure
to,
don't run next door for a loaf of bread, do you?
oh, we'd have got no neighbors, not up there, no, you don't.
And Maggie and them still live back in there
Yes.
and sleep on a Bruce Brow.
Well, the government built them
Brown.
houses now.
Oh, built them houses.
Yeah, for the winter, but in the summertime they still got this. They live the same way. In the wintertime too, they do. They live out in the cold. They just bank in the snow around them. That's why I was saying the University of Vancouver is studying their lifestyle.
Some students come
Yeah.
there and stay to observe their lifestyle.
To observe the lifestyle. Yeah, just
We've
to
got
study.
some pictures of the area there.
Yes.
So let's see if we got another one here.
No, that's where the prophet used to camp with the Southwick, and that's right by the road where the Southwick camp used to be.
Okay, this was the road there. This is an area.
No,
where
this is just a trail, the foot trail that goes
That's a
down
trail?
to the foot trail that goes down to the where the Indian prophet lived. You can walk down here. There's no bears here because there's no vegetation for what the bear eats. Right here's the rainbow. Here is where.
There is the rainbow
Yeah.
in it right there. Okay.
And here's Alaska Highway going right under.
Alaska Highway's the
Yeah,
other side of
runs
the
in
tree.
there.
Okay.
And every morning that rainbow comes over like that. It's beautiful. Where the prophet used to camp. I'm sure you were in there too, yes. And just to honor what God says, to remind the people that there was a prophet among you, yes.
All
We
right,
got
the next
no
one.
excuse, yes. And
Now-
here's my family.
Now that's the
Yeah.
camp. Now this is their
Yeah.
refrigerator. That's where they store their food, and that's the tent that they live under. But these are members of her family, and she'll identify them for you.
Yes. That's Rose. I don't know who their visitors are, tell you the truth. Here's Mom, and there's Dad.
Now
He's
that's your mom
teasing-
sitting right there.
Yes.
Okay.
And there's Dad. He's always teasing Mom about a matter. of
That's your
no-
dad there.
And this is Joe who gone on. And here's Angus.
Angus now, he was there, and
Yes,
he's the one
the-
that asked, I want to receive the Holy Ghost.
Yes, he's the one that's
And Brother Branham said,
his son receive it
receive
right
it
now.
now. Now, he's also the one that walked on the water.
Yes, he did. And here's Maggie, who's deaf, and this is Walter. They're both deaf.
That's a brother and
They're
sister,
the-
and they're both deaf. They speak to other,
And-
not with a regular sign language, but they've
and-
got their own.
She goes from the camp, she walked 2.5 miles to get water every day with a pail. This one here. So
Still
Walter
does that now.
Yes, and Walter's trying to discourage her from doing it because, he was trying to, now they got four-wheeler and everything. He was trying to make everything easier for her. But the more he tried, the harder she act, I think she wants him to feel sorry for her or something. I don't know what it is. And anyway, they're cute. They argue back and forth.
Yeah, you mentioned the other night that they argued.
Yes. Walter had a power plant.
A
And
power
they-
plant.
And they were watching this show, a Western
Watch
show.
a movie.
A movie.
Shoot 'em up. People
Yes.
killed.
People were dying, and Walter and Maggie were horrified. So many people dying, and
Reality.
yeah, they believe it. They thought they're real dead there. And so Maggie was saying to him, he said, how do I get up there? And Walter said, oh no, he said, you won't. He said, it's crowded upstairs. And he didn't argue with her, and I think she borrowed something from him, and she didn't want to bring it back. And he turned around to her and said, if you don't bring back that cup, he said, you'll be going downstairs. He said. So here's Walter, a man like St. Peter that never didn't know his right hand or left hand. He believes there's only heaven and hell. And here's the Catholic priest coming around telling them there's a purgatory, but I never interpret that for them because because you know yourself there's no purgatory. There's only two ways. Yes. This is what they believe. People that never heard the gospel in their life, they know there's only heaven and hell.
Now,
if you do wrong, you go downstairs. If you do right, you go upstairs.
Now, did either one of them, did anybody ever teach them sign language? It's not the regular sign language they communicate with. You explained to us, pastors, the other day, they do it with facial expressions and their things.
Yes.
Now, like if they're surprised, they do what? You said they.
If I was asking Walter, you know, this happened quite often. My husband doesn't understand them. Like he said, Walter, he showed me something, I don't know what it is, and I'll say, he's watching my mouth. It said, what did you say? This is what it means. My mouth wide open, like, you know, what did you tell him? It's just no word, it's just sign. And he reads my lip, and then he tells me, oh, I wanted him to buy the battery because my flashlight need a battery, or my power plant is running out of spark plug, something like that. He said, that's what I was trying to tell him.
And these two still live in the wilderness?
Yes, they still live in the wilderness.
And they communicate to each other?
Yes.
Probably more than anybody else?
Yes, they do.
And they had a power plant so they could watch a movie?
Somebody gave them some worldly movies.
War movies or westerns?
Yeah, it's something they shouldn't have.
But we're going to send them some good Christians.
Yes, and there was a Christian that gave them something about heaven or something. And Rose and Walter were watching this show, and they looked so humble, you know. And Rose went quiet. I said, what happened? He said, it's all about up there, you know, she said. And Walter too, he said, they'd seen Jesus die on a cross or something. They thought it was the most horrible thing they ever seen. And they were saying, why did they put him on a cross, you know? They didn't understand, huh? You know, somebody gave them a video. I don't know who did. Maybe the Clemency did, I don't know. Somebody did, by God's grace. And they loved that show more than the one that were, you know, movies. Western movies, they call it? Yeah, Western shows. Yeah.
Now, they still sleep on this Bruce brow. We can't see but that Bruce brow that's there.
Yes.
And they cover with like horse blankets or something.
Yes.
And then pull a tarp over them to keep the moisture off.
Yes, that's right.
They still live like that?
Yes, they still live like that.
Didn't you tell me they want to be baptized also?
Yes, they do. Rose has been baptized, so did Maggie. Rose was baptized by Billy Paul, Mom and Dad too, and Maggie was baptized too, but he was someplace in a bush, and he was out on a hunt when Billy Paul came.
So
and
Walter and Angus wants to be baptized?
Yeah, Walter and Angus,
and
these
Russ.
two, and Russ.
Okay. You understand, they store their food stores up here to keep the wolves and the bears out.
That's what they call meat poles.
Okay.
They call poles.
Next one.
No, this is, I went to residential school. These are the children I went to school with.
When she was
That's
5,
me.
the government took her and sent her to a school.
I'm right here. Some of them went on. This is
Which
my
one is you?
brother right here.
You are the biggest one?
Yeah, I'm the biggest one.
Oh.
Here's Eddie right here. That's my brother.
That's your brother?
Yes. And all the rest, this is the chief's daughter, Patsy Bain, Richard, and Elaine. They're all brother and sisters, Lucy Neatley and Janet Dickey. Janet is a nurse. She's a nurse in Vancouver, this one here.
Well, you must have been about 13 there.
About. Lucy, she just, her son got shot last year.
Are these people still living? Adults?
No, Pat went on. She died of cancer.
Okay.
He's the chief's son. Yeah, he's living. Richard Bain, Lucy Neatley, she's still living. Elaine is still living. And Janet. Eddie was killed in a car crash. in a pickup accident.
Okay. Next one.
Now, this is the postal. You'll see this everywhere in Canada, maybe in here too, I don't know. This is my mom and dad's cabin. This is Sheep Creek. Here's their tents. And here's Dad standing in front of the cabin.
That's your dad right
yes.
there.
And this is what they call cache, to keep food stored up in there so the bears won't get into it. They leave it like that for 2 or 3 months so they could go to another hunting area, and then later on they come back and they know everything is still there. So this is the same mountain where the prophet, this is right here, it would be about here.
This is that same mountain that
Yes,
that rainbow
same
red
mountain.
over there.
Yes, that's
Okay.
the same mountain.
Okay. Now, is this part of the area that's in question now about the
Yes,
Yukon
it is.
tribe?
Yes, it
and
is.
the Beaver tribe?
Yes, it is.
And your folks have lived in here about
Yeah.
400 years.
Yes.
And the Yukon tribe's trying to claim that.
Well, the government said the band that wins get $2.8 million. So this is why we're talking about testimony of the word. I don't think land claim is too important, to tell you the truth. I was telling them at the meeting, because I was one of the counselors, I said, why don't you choose Jesus Christ first? And then he'll tell you what to choose. And they told me to get out. I was dismissed. Or they said, you're no longer a counselor. But I had to be there because I got to speak up for my people. It's the only reason I'm involved. Other than that, for myself, I wouldn't worry about it, because what's going to happen if they gain the whole world, and you know what it says, huh? Yes.
Sounds like she's got the priorities straight anyway, doesn't it? Next one.
Here's Angus.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know, somebody
that's Moose
today
Lake.
said this is end of the lake. This is what they call. This here runs into the Toad here. This turns into a river after. That's where the Toad River come from. Here's where we live, right here. There's cabins up there. And the lake, as it goes up like this, it gets wider. It's 3 miles across. Here, I wouldn't know. Here was the camp, and Angus was right here in the willow brush. And he was trying to get across from here, and he was waving for somebody to pick him up. And in the times past, he had been what the Canadians would say into the sauce, which is drinking. And they thought he had been drinking, so they ignored him. So he went back into the willows here, into the bush, and said a simple prayer. He said, Lord, when St. Peter wanted to go to you, he said, you help him. He said, you help him walk across the water. He said, I just want to get across. See, after he gets across, he's still got to walk along here. He's still got to go 5 miles to his cabin. That's why he was in need. He was urgent. It's important that he gets back to the cabin because, so that's a simple prayer he said. And so he just walked across here to where the rescue camp.
He's on this side.
He was on this
They're
side.
over there.
They're over there.
He walks across here.
Yes.
And they examine his shoes and they're not wet.
Yeah, they examine his shoes and and it's not wet.
And they saw this.
They saw this, yes.
And what effect did it have on him?
Well, George couldn't read the Bible. Now, this is just in the family. I shouldn't say this, but it doesn't matter because we're on testimony. So he gave Eddie the Bible, because Eddie went to residential school, and said, could you find out where St. Peter walked across? He said, that's what he said. In a times past, Angus was trying to convert his brother, but George wouldn't listen. So George approached Angus and said, he said, St. Peter fell in the water. He said, but how did you do it? He said, well, St. Peter, he was looking the wrong direction. That's why he fell in the water. He said, at me, he said, I just asked him, I just want to go, just walk across. He said, that's all I did. And he said to George, he said, just like you, he said, when I tell you come to the Lord, he said, you're too busy looking for Susie. He said, that's his girlfriend. So that's the end of the subject.
You know, the prophet says, when you ask the Lord for something.
We don't say this to laugh
Yeah.
or to make fun. This is how my brothers talk to one another. This is how they, family conversation, you know.
And
Yes.
Brother Branham said, check your motive.
Yes.
You want to be healed. Now, there was something else about that when Brother Branham sent you the Bible, he sent you a picture
Yes.
of himself from Houston.
Yes.
And your brothers kidded you about having a boyfriend. And your mother did what?
He laid a law down. Yes.
Your mother told her sons.
He said, you can teach her about any boyfriend. He said, this is the prophet. He said, I don't want to hear any word out of you. And that was it. Yeah. Yeah.
Sounded like her mother had a revelation. Okay, next one. Oh, I asked you the other night what the name of that peak was back there, that pyramid, and you told me it had a name.
Diamond.
Diamond.
There's diamonds all around that mountain.
Diamonds?
Diamonds, this one here.
Can we go hunting?
Now we go hunting, yes, right here.
That peak here.
Yeah, right there around there.
Have you climbed or hiked in these mountains?
Yes,
Louise?
I did, yes. Joe killed a caribou up there, and he sent Rose and I to go and bring it down. Yeah. Imagine, instead of him packing it down, we had to go. Well, he said he was busy anyway. Maybe he was making an excuse, I don't know.
Isn't that the way it is? White
Yes.
men sort of ruined it. The Indian had all you women do all the work. We come along and ruined that, didn't we?
Yes.
Taught the wrong culture. The next one, please.
Now, this is Walter. He's the one that, he's deaf and he can't speak English. He speaks his language. This is where they live. And here's the Alaska Highway just down below here, all the way up here. And this is my late brother George. He has gone on to be with the Lord. And this is where they live. Walter's cabin would be here, and Maggie and Rose would be over here somewhere. Yeah.
Okay.
And so when I say I'm going up to 442, this is where I'm going, on Alaska Highway right here.
Next one.
So,
Now, here's their mansion.
yeah. Oh, in them days when Russ was unbeliever, God showed him a sign. I went to these.
Her husband was an unbeliever, but
Yes.
God showed him a sign here.
Mm-hmm. There was a pillar of fire over here, right there. He's the only one that saw it. And one morning he got me, he said, I want you to see something, he said. Now see this camp here, it's in the wilderness. We'll never have any bear trouble, grizzly, nothing. Just perfect, yes.
But Russ was there and he witnessed a pillar of fire over
Yeah.
this.
And he said to me, he said, I want you to notice something. He said, there's something strange here, he said. Oh. And I said, oh, what do you mean? And he said, remember that pillar of fire we're talking about? He said, it's over this tent, he said. Yeah, he took a picture of it. It's in the picture. Yeah, if you stand here and you're looking toward this way, you'll see it. It's right over this here. The pillar of fire was on the God honor the camp. And in there I have written, I don't know why, a sister asked me, said, do you always write scripture. I said, well, sometime this was written in our camp. Before we go camping, I wrote this verse here. Brother Green, if you would be, just please, just read through your...
It's Numbers chapter 10, verse 34, 35, 36. Numbers chapter 10, verse 34, 35, 36. And the cloud of the Lord was upon them by day when they went out of the camp. And it came to pass when the ark set forward that Moses said, Rise up, Lord, and let thine enemies be scattered, and let them that hate thee flee before thee. And when it rested, he said, Return, O Lord, unto the many thousands of Israel. And you wrote this verse of Scripture.
Yes.
And you took comfort from that. You took that personal, huh?
Yes. And
Wonderful.
I just wanted to be over the camp and just for protection. And of course, the enemy wouldn't let that be, so they destroy our camp. It's not there anymore. But like he said...
You mean when the government would
No,
turn it?
no, no.
Okay.
It's just the people, our family did it. Our family did. They were on drugs.
I
So
see.
they hated that camp. Wherever the Lord is, the enemy is, it's up. You'll always run into those things until Jesus comes. So, and when they did, there was 3 of them pass away. All of a sudden, with no warning. I didn't do it. The Lord did. He will avenge his saints speedily, it's written. I didn't do it.
You need to read that scripture, touch not mine anointings.
Yes, yes. God honored, his word.
Okay.
So,
Next one.
now, these are the ones that saw the bear come. There's Rose, Maggie, and Walter, our cousin Peter's dome. In the background is a moose hide Rose is working on to make into moccasins to sell in a store so she could get more.
That's a moose hide, okay.
Mm-hmm. These people were there in that Grizzly Summit when the bear approached the camp. They seen it.
When you were 7. That's
When
in
I was
1951.
7, yeah. And these 2 are the ones that argue every morning. And Rose, she's how you say, she's got authority or something, dominant or something?
Dominant?
Yes.
Okay.
And when we camp with them, we can't go anywhere unless we ask permit. And she treats us like 2 years old. One day, Russ jumped in a truck and took off to Montreux Lake. And I was there in a yard, and he said, where did he go? I said, he just went for a ride. I never thought anything of it. Next day, we went for a drive, and when we come back, she's standing in a yard with an angry look on her face and said, how come you guys didn't tell me where you were going?
She's your older sister?
Yes.
I got one like that.
No.
I imagine Sammy's listening tonight too. So.
I hope not.
Next one.
Now, here's Angus. Hopefully there's Angus.
That's Angus on the end?
Russ.
And
Russ in the center and George.
Russ is your husband?
Yes, and this one is his cabin, George's cabin.
Okay.
And he's the one that asked for the Holy Ghost. But he asked Brother Branham. And they take this pail here, they go to the creek, about 3 miles away, to get water.
And bring that back with water?
Yes, with water.
Well,
And
that's
that's
about
supposed
50
to last all day,
that's
but
about 50
sometimes it
pounds.
don't.
Y'all got running water, but just 3 miles away, huh?
Yeah, but Walter when they camp or make it safe, they try to camp by the creek so she can just run back and forth. Huh? And one time they did, she was criticizing him because it was too easy for her. She wanted a long walk, so she wouldn't know what she was doing. Huh?
Well, when I went to Bud and Lila's camp at mile 442, there was running water in their cabin. Now, Bud had went up the hill, and there was a place up there where there was a spring or something, and he took a large pipe, and he laid it in there, and then he reduced it down, and for several hundred yards, he had run a small pipe and run it into that cabin, and it went into the sink, and the water ran 24 hours a day.
Wow.
Down the hill, into the sink, and outside.
Yes.
So Lila didn't have to go get water. She just went to the sink and got
Yes.
it. So they had modern conveniences there.
At that time.
And no water bill.
No water bill, yeah.
Good, fresh mountain water. All right, next one.
No, this is Rose. She's at mile 9.
There's her spruce brown mattress.
Well, Vicky and Dan, they've been to this camp many a time to bring them stuff, you know. They go up there with 4-wheelers, 9 miles in the wilderness. Here, this is where she's sitting, that's where she sleeps. So this is her pet dog. And here's the spruce boughs Brother Green was telling you about. And this is her grocery. She covered up at night. Yeah.
They make these blankets?
No, the people, they give them, you know, it's given to them by people. It's like the university students, when they come up, they buy them presents. That's what they were showering me with, like some maybe perfume or something that they don't use. So maybe I should turn around and shower somebody else with it. Or like Russ said, you should have a garage sale.
But that's your sister Maggie?
That's Rose.
Rose, okay.
Yes.
All right. And she lives there alone?
No, Maggie's bed is on the other side.
Okay.
This is just her where she sleeps. Maggie's bed would be here.
Okay.
They sleep side by side with the grocery in the center. Here's the campfire here somewhere, right here in the front.
You have a camera? That's
no.
something we need to send home with you as a camera.
Oh wow, I got the kind that's disposable and not a camera.
We'll get her a camera. How many think she ought to have a camera? So she can get on her laptop computer out there and get on the internet.
Yes.
We can see what the next one.
Now, these are my friends. She's very worldly. This is Jeannie Burke, Henry Collette. He's from France. That's Russ here. Here's Summit Lake. This is what it looked like right now. On Alaska Highway, runs right here. Here's Alaska Highway.
That's a lake up there, and
yes.
this is a highway running on here.
Yeah, this is Alaska Highway.
And this is sort of like a rest stop alongside the highway.
And
with some kind of a memorial marker here?
Yes, it's something like it's a history of the area. When the armies went through 1942, it's all written on this.
Now, but the Yukon tribe wants this highway to go back to the wilderness, don't they?
Yes, and they want this whole area. Our ancestors are buried beyond this mountain here, in the mountains here.
Now, talking about burial, Brother Branham mentioned something about some of the people there are buried in logs. Was that a custom, a tradition of your people to bury some of the people that passed on into logs and put them in the trees?
Oh no, that Teslan people do that. They
Okay.
call them tilted. They do it so the spirit can claim them. They bury them in the trees.
Okay, how did
Yeah.
your people intern
They
them?
put them in if there's a cave, that's where they lay them.
Okay.
There. And you see these brushes that Rose is sitting on, because there's no axe or any object to get, to make cemetery, how you say it?
A grave?
The grave.
Yeah.
So most of the ancestors, they just cover one another with these brushes. They cover their face and everything. That's how that...
And that's how they interned them?
Yes, that's how they interned them.
Well, do the animals get to them?
I don't know. I just, it's hard to say. Just,
but they would call a death by a bear or something a good death, wouldn't they?
Yes.
That to them, there wouldn't be anything gruesome about it. For a man to be killed by a bear or something, they feel like his spirit would be all right.
Yes.
Now, where's your mother and father buried?
Up in the mountains, right at Sheep Creek.
Sheep Creek.
It's only a knoll, but the people of the town call it a mountain. So we're going to this, my brother's funeral, and the chief wife wanted to go, and they said, oh no, I don't think you should go. They said, you got to climb this mountain, you know. She said, a mountain to climb? And that only aroused her curiosity, and she went. And she was better climber than all of them.
I know when I went up to Whitehorse to bury that young girl that stepped into that crevice in the Yukon River, that brother up there, we took his daughter and we put her on top of a mountain there outside the village. And that's where they had all the people interned. So I know that that's something that they bury them in an elevated position. But they dig a hole in the ground and put your parents in there?
Yes. Our mom went first and then dad after.
Okay, do they put them in one of these?
Well, they had them, the Indian Affairs took over. Now the government paid for the funeral, everything, coffin, everything.
They put them in a coffin?
Yes.
Okay. Of course, it's made out of gold and
yes.
silver.
Oh no, it's just, I don't think so. I don't know who picks those things because, you know, I often wonder what I'm going to do if something happened to us. You know, I don't know anything about funeral arrangement.
Well,
what about, I just hope I'm the one that goes before him, so I don't have to face those problems. I don't mean to say it that way, but I just...
Brother Green has handled over 400 funerals, so call me and I'll tell you what I know.
Yes.
We'll share it with you.
If something happens.
Yeah.
Yes.
But let's believe we're going to go and be caught away together, huh? Okay.
Yes, we'll believe
Next
that.
one.
Yes, we were walking around, and this Russ's friend approached us and said, you Americans heard about Terry Fox? Is he from here? The guy that died of leg cancer or something? Well, every year, the British Columbia people, they honor his, how he ran, even though he got cancer in the leg. So this lady told us, you guys stand there, I'll take your picture, she said. So that's what we were doing.
They have a fundraiser, huh?
Yeah, fundraiser.
Is it like it's a hike or a run?
Terry Fox fundraiser, they call it. Yes.
Is it a race?
It's whoever want to run, they run.
What's that hockey stick got to do with it?
Oh, I don't know.
Was he a hockey player?
I don't know what this lady had. You know, like I don't know what this. I'll ask Russ when I get back.
Okay.
What's this hockey stick? Look, there are millions of people. They all looking at it.
And you and Russ were visiting there, and they took your picture.
Yeah, they just pick us out and they come, and stand in front of the...
Oh, is that you?
Yes.
Oh, that looked like a young woman. I thought that Russ...
I used to wear glasses by God's grace. When I went to this optometrist, he said, better yet, he said, why don't you have a double lens implant? And now I could have 20/20 vision for $4,500.
So you got rid of the glasses?
I got rid of the glasses, yes.
Praise the Lord.
Yes.
Next
Thank
one.
God.
We have any more? All right, any question? Anybody want to ask Louise a question? Well, isn't that wonderful? We answered all their questions.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
Can you think of it?
Can I ask them a question?
Yes, you want to ask them a question.
Yes.
Is it okay if she asks questions?
Yeah. I don't know how I'm going to ask this. My English is so poor.
We'll understand you. Speak in tongues.
my sister Maggie, she always called the Americans, she called them Bettikins. You Bettikins.
You better.
Anyway, how did some of you come into this message? Like, how did you hear it?
Well, how long have you
Yeah.
got?
Yeah. I mean, it's wonderful to see, like people hunger and all that. And you're so far and wide from one another, because we were driving along. I said to the sister, I said, well, this traffic slow down? She said, no. I said, you mean to say it's always like this, And she said, yes, it is, she said. So I thought, oh, wow, So, those of you who have been in the message, what I'd like to know is, I want to hear your testimony, please. If you, Brother Green?
Well, we'll take another week to do that.
Oh, well.
Because
Yeah, I just want to hear your personal moment with the Lord. Yes. Yeah.
Vanessa?
Yes, I want to know if your lifestyle is still the same.
Yes, it is.
It is?
Yes, it is.
And do you still live in the vicinity where you lived as a child?
Yes, we still go out there and live the same way, yes.
She lives at Fort Nelson now.
Yeah, but we go up there summertime because
Which is about 140 miles somewhere from this area
from
here.
that area.
But is it the same lifestyle?
Yes, it
Carrying
is.
water and...
Yes, it is.
No, you don't pack water.
We do when we can.
But you live in a house, don't you, or a cabin?
Yeah, she's got a house, but no running water.
I mean,
Yeah.
where you live in Fort Nelson.
Fort Nelson, we're okay because we got running water and all that. Yes.
Yeah,
if
you
that's
got
what
hot
you
water?
mean, yeah. Yes, we got
She lives in a very small city
apartment.
between Dawson Creek and Fort St. John.
And Fort Nelson.
And there's one street in the city.
One dirt road.
And it passes right through.
Mm-hmm.
If you get on it and it's one way, you can't get back to town. But there's a few people live there, and they do have a grocery store and a service station and motels. Don't you have
And a
motel?
motel, yes.
How
Super
many
8.
How many? A Regal 8?
Super 8 and...
Super 8. And she was the head janitor at Super 8
Yes,
until she went home to take care of her husband.
yes.
And Russ, he's retired from driving heavy equipment.
Yes, he is retired.
And these beautiful dresses she is worn here, she went to Edmonton riding 15 hours on a bus the other day, Thursday and Friday last week.
Yes.
And in Edmonton, one of the sisters took her to a recycle fashion store and bought her these lovely dresses so that she'd come down here and look Americanized.
Yes. Because if, where I come from, we say we dress any way we want, except for Christians, of course. But the people up there, they just, they don't care for style. Huh? When you're out in the wilderness, like they say, who's gonna look at you anyway? But when they come to town, it's another story. They had to dress, kind of presentable.
I had to chuckle the other day when Caleb and them were going to take Sister Louise up to the Apache reservation. And Caleb was wanting to find a 4-door car, like Brother Rogers, to take her in, because he thought she wouldn't be comfortable in the back seat of that Cadillac. And I said, Caleb, talk about yourself, son, because Louise would ride a donkey or a mule.
Yes.
I mean, I had to laugh, thinking she'd be uncomfortable in a Cadillac.
Yes, I would know. Well, I sure would appreciate some, the treatment I have received. I want to say God bless you, brothers and sisters. I really enjoy being with all of you. Thank you for being here. And
Most of the time you travel on a pickup truck, don't you?
on a pickup truck, yes. And when I go home, like 442, my brother lived 15 miles in a wilderness, so we had to go by four-wheeler or by foot. So when they were living at mile 9, I had to walk 9 miles to visit them. I only got 30-06 rifle on my shoulder. Hope I don't meet that grizzly, you know. It's just every time a stick break, oh, there he is, what am I gonna do, you know. And by God's grace, I hadn't seen one yet, yes.
All right, Vanessa, let's finish with you.
I want to know how, when Brother Branham came, how did it affect the people around there? Did the people accept him as a prophet? Did the message continue on? Is there Christians now that believe Brother Branham was a prophet?
Well, it's Sister, I would say yes or no, because a lot of people rebelled. Even though Lila was trying, you know, to try pass around the books and, you know, anything to get the people to believe, they rebelled.
You're talking about 25 or 30 people,
Yeah.
that's all you're talking
Yeah,
about.
that's all. Like when we brought the message to town, we were outcasts, right in where I live.
There's 5 of them want to be baptized now.
Yeah, that's in my family. Yeah.
In her family.
But for Nelson town itself, they don't want this message. They don't want to hear it, because it corrects you and change your lifestyle, and this is what they don't want. They want to live their own way and still say, well, if God loves me, he'll save me anyway. This is what they believe, but I guess
But it's predominantly Roman Catholic, isn't it?
Yes.
And the priest tells them who's right and who's wrong and so forth. Okay. Somebody else had their hand up here. Sister Holmquist?
When is your birthday? We would like to send you a card.
Well, it says June 4th. But when I went to residential school, I couldn't speak English. So I was in a playground with another girl that was about same size. Her birthday was June 4th, so they put mine June 4th. But when I asked Oscar, I said, when is my real birthday? She said, oh, you were born May 17, he said.
That's the day Noah went in the ark.
Yeah. So they just measured me against Christine Germain. She was born June 4th, so they put my birthday with her.
You know,
Yeah.
there's a testimony about that when Brother Branham first went among these people, the government up there was giving them pensions and so forth, but they had to fill out certain papers and application. They had to know who their parents were and where they were born and how old, you know, their birthdays and everything. And her parents didn't know any of this. So Brother Branham had them get the forms, and by discernment, he said, your name is so-and-so, your parents were so-and-so, your birthday was this, and you was born here. And they filled it out, and as a result, they got their pensions.
Yes.
Now, the brothers, some of them, they were going to be something. Well, I want to be born in July. I want to be born in
Yeah,
September.
when
And they just put anything down.
Yeah, they chose any month. Like my brothers and sisters, they misunderstood the word when now the government want to know what month were you born. So here Joe and Hank is arguing. He said, I don't like this month because it rained. He said, I'll say July. And Hank has changed his mind. He said, oh, I'll be born in March, he said. And then he changed his mind and said, I'll say August because that's hunting season. That's what well, they thought the government gave them a choice to choose their own birthday, what month they're going to be born. They didn't realize it's, you know, at the day you're born.
And that's one of the reasons why Russ is having trouble getting a passport now.
Yes, that's right.
Her husband would have been with her. We'd had him
Yes.
come down too, but he can't get a passport because he can't establish his birthday right.
Yeah,
And
that's
his birth
right.
certificate.
This is what's happening up there, yes.
But yet, Brother Branham looked at that area, and I can show you on tape at least 3 times where he says, Lord, let me live here during the millennium.
Yes.
Can you imagine? Must be a beautiful place. It's cold right now, though.
Yes,
What
it
is it today, 40 or 50 below zero?
Yesterday I talked to him, he said it's 23. He said it's a lot better than it was. He said,
Just 23 below zero.
yes, he's 23.
At my house this morning, the thermometer showed 24 degrees.
Oh,
That's cold here, Louise.
that's cold?
That's 6 degrees below freezing here. But you know,
I was telling a sister, I said, yesterday we're out there, I said, everybody will be sitting in a shade up there. He said, are you kidding? I said, no. He said, that's
Sitting
too
in the
hot
shade,
in a
drinking
shade,
lemonade.
looking for shade, and going to the lake or something, trying to stay cool. Yeah.
Sister Holmquist, the lady that asked you your birthday,
Yeah.
she makes the cards that she
Oh,
sends me all the
wow.
time.
Yeah.
So you'll start getting some beautiful birthday cards.
Yeah, if I had to correct my birthday, I have to write to Ottawa, to the government, and I had to advertise it in a paper and say, I hereby my name, would like to change this date because the residential school made a mistake. And I had to pay the government $500 to do
What
so.
difference does it make? We know you was born May the 17th, 1944. All right. Anybody else got a question? You enjoyed this?
Yeah.
Now, you ladies, remember, you can have a little bit more personal rapport with her at noon on Tuesday at First Cafeteria, and it is Dutch. Or should we pay for it this time and have everybody come?
Oh, I don't know what the girls, we'll leave it up to the sisters what they
We'll just leave it like it is.
Yes.
Let everybody go on their own, take
Yes.
them. And Sister Bennett will have Louise there.
Yeah,
And last
thank
time, she's about 2 hours and 15 minutes with them over there. And it's a lot different when they're talking just among the girls.
Yes, it is.
So,
Yes.
and she really enjoyed herself among the Apaches.
Yes, the Apaches, yes. I really enjoy being out there, yes. They're so wonderful.
And
yes.
you're supposed to go out to see the Yaquis on Thursday night
On Thursday.
here in
So,
town. So,
You know what Yaqui is in our language?
no?
In heaven.
Really?
So they made it. What they
They
need
will
us.
enjoy.
That's what
They
I'll
will
tell
tell
them.
you that.
Yeah.
Oh, they will enjoy that.
Yes.
Did you find any similarities between the Apache customs
Yes.
and yours?
Yes, we have.
You remember some of them?
Yes. They say true and they say the same thing.
They say
Yes.
what?
True means water.
True?
Chew.
Chew?
C-H-E-W, like chew.
And it means the same thing?
It means the same thing.
What does it mean?
It means water.
Water?
Water, yes.
Okay, agua.
Chew.
That's Spanish.
Yeah, aqua is Spanish, yes.
Give me a drink of chew.
Yeah. And I'll say, what is that? Give me a drink. And some people say chew was don. It means give me a drink of water. Chew was don.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, her family name on her mother's side was Stone.
Yes.
And they were the tribe or the group of Indians that the prophets came from.
Yes.
It was on her mother's side, not her father's side. And since she was here last Sunday night, a number of you people have got on the internet and you've looked up some of the genealogy and some of the ancestry and some of the background of the Indian tribes, and it's very interesting if you know how to do that.
Yes.
To find that out. And now then you go tell everybody you met a member of the bride from that tribe. See, it
Yes,
says be of every nation, kindred, tongue, and people. And I didn't say this at the beginning, but if she'd have been the lady that had washed Jesus' feet, and wherever the gospel is preached, this story was told. Well, it's the same with Louise. Wherever Brother Branham's message is preached, the story of Oscar and his horses are told. The story of Brother Bud, Curtis, and Louise is a personal witness to come and be among us now at this. And that's the reason I wanted to get it on DVD. And I really appreciate these young men that have taken the time to set this up and do this. And they've learned a lot, and we have. And the other night we tried to show the pictures, but they didn't come out too clear. But the brothers have put in a new projector this week, and it comes, and I've enjoyed it both times. And by the way, I saw Brother Billy Paul yesterday, and he gave me his cell phone number and told me to call him any day, any time, and he'll take us to the den, so that you can go to the den, and we'll be able to get photographs of you with the bear and the caribou skin and everything, and you'll get to see Brother Branham's grandson, Stephen, that's the hunter, and he knows, he and Wanda are friends, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
Now Wanda is
my older sister's daughter.
She's a niece of yours.
Yes, she's a niece.
And the Clements that are here, their son lives up there at Toad River, doesn't he?
He's out in the oil field. They live there. Oh, I thought you meant Vicky's son. You meant her.
No, I mean Vicky and her husband. They live there at Toad River.
Yes, they live at Toad River. And she's got a sister named Irva Stewart. She lived, her husband worked on Alaska Highway.
Yeah, I knew.
Mark Stewart, yes.
I don't know if you ever heard my story, but I tell about the store at Toad River. You'll enjoy this. I think the folks will too. The home folks have heard it before, but it gives a side of Brother Branham that a lot of people had never heard before. The day that we got up there to Bud's cabin, the day before, there had been a black bear come and got in Lila's cabin, and he got the flour barrel and everything, and he's throwing everything around, and Bud was telling Brother Branham that he was with the boys down by the horse, except the two little boys, Rocky and
Ronnie and Glenn.
Ronnie and Danny, the two little boys. Huh? Glenn, yeah, the two little boys. Rocky, Dennis, and Blaine, they were the larger boys.
Yes.
And they were outside with their dad, fooling with the horses. And they said when the bear got in the cabin, that Lila come running by them, and Bud told Brother Branham that she had a little boy by each hand, and she was running so fast, hollering, "Bear, bear, bear," that the two boys are sticking straight out behind her. and said, Bud told Brother Branham, Brother Branham said she ran across the river and never even got her feet wet.
Whoa.
and of course, what that did is we were all laughing about the incident, but that told me, a greenhorn, that there was a bear in the area. So that night when we went to bed, Bill and I were sleeping in the tent. It was like a teepee tent out in front of the yard, and Brother Branham and Brother Southwick were sleeping in the camper on the pickup of Brother Southman's. And Bud and his family were all in the cabin. And sometime during the night, I woke up to pull my duffel bag up underneath my head, and I got a handful of fur in his hand. And I pulled my hand down, and Billy was on the other side of the tent, and I said, "Billy, where's that flashlight?" He'd gone to bed, come to bed last with my flashlight. And he said, "It's over here in the bed with me." He said, "What's wrong?" I said, "There's something in his tent besides you and I." and Billy, when I told him it was a handful of fur, Billy stood up in his sleeping bag, and he gets over close to the door, and he turns the flashlight on, and it turns out to be a house cat. Now, the cat must have got lost up there at the
No, that's Phyllis Saltick's cat.
Well,
her next door neighbor.
But anyway, they had me take it away the next day, so I don't know whose cat it was. But anyway, I had to go to the store, so I took Dennis with me, and we took that cat down to the Toad River store. And I left it there because they thought whoever it got away from, they'd come back and get it. Well, we go back, and Brother Branham, he kids me that day, and Billy does, and they rub this greenhorn Texan. He don't know a house cat from a bear, and I mean, they just rubbed me raw, you know. Just we was a bunch of brothers having a lot of fun. And that night when we went to bed, I made sure that I had my flashlight with me. So sometime during the night, Billy wakes me up and he says, "Pearry, where's that flashlight?" I said, "I got it with me tonight." He said, "That cat's back in here." Well, I've had all the Billy I could take that night. So I'm about 6 or 7 foot from him, and I said, Billy, it can't be that cat because it's on me too.
Oh.
Well, when I say that, Billy gets up inside of his sleeping bag.
Yeah.
And he's getting over close to the door, and the door was zipped shut, and he unzips the door, you know, like this. And about that time, I turned the light on, and that house cat had come back, and he got in that warm tent with us. And Billy gets out of the sleeping bag, grabs that cat, and throws it at the door. Well, the cat doesn't make the door. He hits the side of the tent and bounces right back in Billy's face.
Oh.
And I mean, there is a cat fight and the boy going on. And the next thing I know, Brother Branham is out of that camper, and we've all got on long insulated underwear. And Brother Branham is outside with his rifle, thinking a bear has got a hold of his son Billy.
Oh.
And don't think for a minute I ever let him forget it. The next morning we got up. It had snowed, and we couldn't leave the camp area. And Billy got up and grabbed his clothes and went and got in the warm cabin to dress. And I had told Sister Green before I left, I said, you know what, I got these overalls and all I'm going to wear. But I said, what if I fall in the creek and I get wet? So I had an old gray flannel wool suit that the moths need to hold in the pocket. And I said, I'll take that thing. That's warm, and I won't never wear it down here. So I got up that morning, instead of dressing in those hunting clothes, I put on that gray suit with a white shirt and a tie. And I strapped my .38 pistol on my side, and I take my Bible, and they're all in the cabin having tea and getting ready for breakfast. And I go to the cabin door, and I kick the door open, and I draw that .38 pistol. And I say, you sinners better repent. The preacher's on hand. And Brother Branham slides out of his chair, gets on his, oh, Reverend, don't shoot me. Please, I promise you. I'll never do it again, preacher. Don't shoot me.
Oh.
We had a lot of fun. And that afternoon when we got ready to leave, Brother Branham came to me and he said, Brother Green, now here's your lunch. He said, now put it in your left saddlebag. And it already showed me my horse, and I knew which one it was. It was a paint, and I went and I thought, well, now why put it in the left? Why can't no, just to the right? It'd be easier for me to get out here. But I thought, well, maybe they put ammunition in the right saddlebag and the lunch in the left one, and that way everybody load the same. And so I woke up there with this sack lunch, and I open that saddlebag, and that cat comes out of that saddlebag.
Oh.
Brother Brown and Billy had put that cat in that saddlebag. Oh. and Billy's over there filming it. And then Brother Brown said, that's a Texan for you. That's a Texan for you. And then he was going to show me how to get on my horse. So, you know, you're supposed to get on a horse on the left-hand side with your left foot. And that throws you up on the saddle and you're facing over. So he took me on the other side of the horse and had me do that. And when I landed on the horse backwards. And I knew what he was doing, but I did it anyway. And they got pictures of me sitting on my horse backwards, you know. So I want you folks to know, Brother Brown was a lot of fun to be around. Yeah. And if you let him relax and be a man, I think that's the reason he allowed me to be with him so much. Is because Brother Brown told me that he didn't go to the wilderness just to go out there and be cold and hunt games, but it's the only place that he could go that he'd get away from the spirits. The day he told me this, he asked me if I knew any jokes. And he knew, he surprised me. Well, I'm from Texas, and I was full of them. But I thought he was fixing to get after me for being foolish or something like that. And he was driving my car, and about that time a car passed us on the highway. And he said, Brother Green, he said, you see that car just passed? I said, yes, sir. He said, we need to pray for them. They're going to need help down the road. He said, now that's the reason that I go out here in the wilderness, is once I get out there and I'm away from people and spirits, he said, then I can relax. He said, now if you know some jokes, tell me some so that I can start relaxing. And I told him one about a man going to sleep in church, and he beat on the, that's a good one, Brother Green, and he told me one. And for 2 hours, Brother Brown and I swapped stories. And I know he enjoyed it because the first night we was at Bud's house, Brother Branham is sitting in the cabin, and they could always tell when Brother Branham was relaxed. He took a straight chair, and he'd turn around, he'd sit in it backwards and put his arms out like this. He said, Brother Green, tell him one about so-and-so. And I told it. And now tell him one about this. And all of mine, he had me tell them over because they some of them they'd never heard. They wasn't original, but hey, as I said, I was from Texas. And I looked over there, and one of them, Brother Branham, had slid out of the chair and was laying flat on his back, both feet sticking up in the air, and he's holding his sides laughing. And I don't mind telling you, I looked over and I thought, prophet? But see, I got a revelation. Elijah was a man. Brother Branham was a man. He was my brother. And he wasn't deity born virgin. It wasn't what you'd call a saint or a monk. Brother Branham was a man that loved God and kept that word and let the Holy Spirit lead him. And he became an adopted son of God. And I believe it is possible for you and I to live that kind of life. Now, we won't have the gift and the discernment because we're not a foreordained word prophet the way he is. But we need to be Christians. Yes. And I'm going to tell you this. I think Christians can have more fun than anybody else in the world because there's no hangover the next day. Now that was, and I had the experience to be up there with Brother Branham. And the first time I ever saw that bearskin rug, he had me stand in the middle of it. And when he walked up to me, he put his arms around me, and he prayed a prayer for me, and he prayed the exact same prayer that he'd prayed 14 years before when I had picked him up and set him over in his car with Howard in a meeting in Beaumont, Texas. And I knew then that I'd be doing things I'm doing right now in my life. And that day when we left the den, Brother Branham picked up a wooden box and he gave me this rock. He said, Brother Green, that's a brown bear. And of course I was happy. I thought I was going to kill a brown bear. You know, just as calm as I could be. There's been all kind of things said about it. In South Africa, they got it started that an angel found it, gave it to Brother Branham. Brother Branham gave it to me. One man had a type over there that Brother Jackson got the message. He was a yellow maned lion, and he went there and he gave him the truth of the Godhead. And I came along and gave him the revelation of the prophet. And they ran from the lion, and the bear chased them, and they ran back into their own house, their own denomination. They leaned against the wall, their own doctrine, and a snake bit them, and they died. And I told him, I said, I don't believe any of that type. Brother Branham didn't tell me anything except, Brother Green, it's a brown bear. But when I went to the Soviet Union in November of 1972, I feel like God showed me that I had an opportunity to witness to Russia. And this is their symbol of a brown bear. That's them. And Brother Branham said, what they need is a prophet. And so that was just for me. And I carry this rock. I put it in my pocket every morning. I take it out every night. And all it does, Louise, remind me that I knew a prophet.
Yes. Oh, that is wonderful. So
Now, Brother Branham.
Wanda's looking at this, look. Yes, this is a witness to.
Yeah, Brother Branham walking through the wilderness somewhere, found that rock. He took it home, and he had a jar he polished them in.
Yes.
He showed me that in his garage. And it started a tradition, me telling this story, that when you went to the den, as long as they had those rocks in that little box, the family gave you one. And I understand now they bought some rocks and put in there, and I don't know if they still keep the tradition or not. But that's what started. It was this one right here. Brother Jackson had a yellow one that had a dark spot through it, and Brother Branham gave it to him and called it a yellow maned lion. I don't know where Brother Jackson's is. I imagine some of his family has it somewhere, but that's the testimony we have. So, any other questions? Louise and I would never get through telling about it.
It's Oral Roberts, all right.
Oh, Brother Roberts is still alive.
Yes.
Billy Graham is still alive.
Yes.
Billy Graham's wife died. Billy Graham is quite sick, and old Roberts has been sick. And I personally felt for the last couple of years we could lose either one of those or both of them. And when they do, then that means those two witnesses.
Yes.
are no longer with us.
The reason I asked is the guy that has the hunting area now in
Thompson?
Grizzly Summit.
Okay.
Art Thompson is, he goes to Oral Roberts Church. Yes, he's
Okay.
well acquainted with him. Yes.
Okay.
He's interdenominational.
Yeah?
Yes.
Well, he has the Oral Roberts University in Tulsa, and his son Richard was running it until Richard had some financial problems, and now then they've got a board that runs it. So, but brother Oral Roberts himself lives in Los Angeles area.
Oh, in Los Angeles,
Yeah.
yes. Because the guy that bought the hunting area lives in the States here. He's Art Thompson's boss. So I don't know what's going on there. Is Art Thompson just managing it? But I heard he owns the hunting area.
You know, I even think that's a type too.
Yes.
Billy Graham's on that side of the country, and Oral Roberts is on this side of the country.
Yes,
And I believe that they are two witnesses,
yes.
like the two that went to Sodom. I call that the riddle that Brother Brown tells. But the one that was with Abraham, his name was changed from Abram to Abraham. 6 letters to 7 letters. Okay, we'd never get through. God bless you. Listen, they mentioned something about James won't be baptized. I wonder if we could wait till Sunday morning. Then everybody'd be here. All right, God bless you. No more questions? Thank you. You're dismissed. Be careful in this traffic on the way home. Louise is not
I
accustomed
just
to
want
it.
to say thank you, Christian brother and sisters. I want to say I love you. But God live here.
We love
Please
you,
keep
Louise.
me in your prayers. When I go back to the northern BC, you're going to miss you all. And I want to say, God bless you, Brother Green. I appreciate all the things that you have done. And to the Bennett family, thank you, sister, for showing me godly love. And our Christian sisters, I appreciate you very much. I never seen such beautiful ladies, Brother Green. Oh, I mean, so humble. You know, it just flows you, you know. You know, like where I come from, it's just worldly women, you might say. But this is such a big change. Maybe this is a beginning for me, I don't know. So I would say, Brother Green, I admire you. I would say I encourage you, please, brother, press the battle. And to you youngsters that are coming up, do likewise, you know, obey your parents, and God will give you desire of your heart. And my sincere prayer is, may we meet beyond the curtain of time, each and every one of you. God bless you. Thank you very much.
Louise, you know, when I came to the area up there on that hunt that year,
Yes.
I had no idea the effect that would have on myself and around the world. But the pictures like of yourself and this horse,
Yes.
it's in the generation book.
Yes.
Of course, I took several photographs, but I got a call last night from one of Brother Biscuit's daughters, Marilyn, that had married Mike Hunt, and now she's remarried, so I don't know what her last name is now. But she's an artist, and she had, beforehand, she had painted a picture of Brother Branham sitting in front of a campfire with Bud up there in that area, and we've got some of them over here. They're professional paintings, and she's printed them and sells them as prints. I think they're $300 or $400 a piece. But she called last night to tell me that she had found a picture that she'd been working on it for, she said, several years. And she just loved the picture, but it was 3 men in a tent. And she had painted it and had published it, but she couldn't identify the 3rd man. And Brother Ken Andes was visiting in her home the other day and recognized me as the man. And she wanted me to verify that was me. Well, I know the picture that you're talking about because we're inside this white tent, and Brother Branham's standing there, I think, with my Bible, and Bud's standing on the other side, and I'm sitting there at a table, and I'm leaning over like this, and I'm listening to what Brother Branham is saying. And it doesn't show my face, but that's, she talked about loving the picture, so I got a new painting coming. Because she said she's going to send me a copy of it so that I could verify that it was me, and then maybe I'll find out how much the royalty is.
Yes,
I think you ought to pay something for me being a model, don't you? Huh?
yes.
You know, there ought to be a first. Sometime I get paid for it, you know. So. But you never know, you know, the things we did, it was just a hunting trip to us. But it turns out to be something that's been a blessing to people all over the world because of the things we learned and saw. And if you want to know why I feel that I was blessed to participate in these things, I believe it's because God knew that I would share it.
Amen.
Yes.
Because I enjoy telling people the experiences I had with Brother Branham. And how many times do you think I've told them? And I never get tired of telling them. And I also do this. I welcome you to go back and listen to it when I told it 40 years ago and see if I've changed it any. I know some brothers who their memory gets better as the years go along. Now, there's times when maybe I forget things, but Louise has said some things she's been here that's renewed things in me, you know, that,
Yes.
hey, I didn't put that, I don't add to it, but I'd said it before, but it comes alive again. And that's what it should be. This message is real.
Yes, this message.
And you see the change it made in Louise's life
Yes.
for Brother Branham to say, go get Louise.
Yeah. Sandra and the other girl, they're doing this writing. I want to thank the girls also for their patience in tracing down who I am. Like say, Beaver Indians sometimes are called Seikene. Seikene is rock like people. That's what she found.
You mean
in
tracing your
Yes.
genealogy with a tribe?
Genealogy, yes.
Okay.
That's what we were called before there was any white people that, before the Alaska Highway was made, that's what the Cree called the Beaver Indians, Seikene, they called them. Seikene, and in turn, the Beaver Indians called the Cree Leshini, they called them. So we went to residential school. There's still separation, brothers and sisters. What a shame it is, because the parents, the story come on down saying, well, if she's a Cree and she's a slavey, well, her people kill off all people, and they tell the children that. I wish to tell them about the Lord Jesus Christ. Wouldn't that be different today? Yeah.
You see,
so that's why there's so much hatred involved, Brother Green.
See,
this
back in
I'm
their
saying.
families,
yeah. This is
one
what I'm
tribe
saying.
would invade
Is
another
again
tribe,
the
kill
other.
all the men and take all the females
Yeah.
and breed them. And so they
Yeah.
became Beaver and Crees intermixed like that. And those tribes that survived, they still hate the other because, hey, you killed our parents.
Yes.
And that's the reason these Indians, they didn't get along with each other. And that hatred is still there now. And it takes the love of God to take it out.
Yes,
doesn't
it does. So I would say if this get into the hands of the Northern British Columbia Indians, I say from Whitewood to halfway Indian reservation, I'm just your sister. I love you. Don't fight over this land claim. Let God do the fighting for you. In case this falls into their hand, I just want to say to them, it's not the land we're fighting over. It's the people in the land. We want them to get to know the Lord Jesus Christ, so that they'll be so you won't go into judgment. Like Walter said, there's only two ways.
You go up there instead of down here.
Upstairs or downstairs, yes.
You go up here instead of down there.
Instead of downstairs, yes.
How many of you are going to pray for these people?
Thank you.
You pray the
Thank
Lord
you.
give us strength to
Thank you,
baptize these that want to be
Yes.
baptized too. I mentioned it to Brother Billy Paul yesterday since he baptized some other members of the family. He said, it's your calling.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll tell you what,
Oh.
I'm willing to go.
Oh,
I'm willing to go, the Lord willing.
yes.
Might have to have 4 of these other guys go with me to hold me up, but the Lord willing, I want him to wait till the
Yes.
ice breaks, Louise. I don't want to go while we have to break the
I would
ice.
suggest you come after June 15.
Wait till after your birthday, huh?
Wait until I'm a year older. Yes. And
All right.
If God willing, let it be that way, and if not, He'll find a way somehow. He always does.
Yeah, we will.
Yes.
We understand it.
Just
The burden
say-
is there.
Yes.
The
The
desire is there.
burden is there, but like my fear as a human is, what if these people die without baptism? What's going to happen to them? Are they lost? I don't know. It's
The
like
water don't
us,
save them. God knows their heart.
Like Walter's innocent. He's like a 2-year-old. He's like a child, and he wants to get up there so bad. So does Maggie, and they don't know the left hand from the right. And like the spoken word book, what they do every night? They hold it to their heart. They want to know what it says, every word. And those of us who study, and that's how George went too. He wanted to know what the word of the Lord says, but he can't read. His handicap there. Yes. So this is the kind of people I'm among. And sometimes the enemy attacks. There's too many misunderstanding, and hatred arise, between nation against nation, And so in a time like this, I will remember your prayers.
Yes.
Thank you, brother and sisters. I appreciate you very much. Brother Green, thank you very much
Thank
for
you for
giving me
taking the
this
time to come be with us,
opportunity to speak to the congregation. Yes, and I want to say you're a wonderful shepherd, Brother Green. Keep that up. May God bless you. And my statement would be, may you have the great reward that will await you.
I am blessed.
Yes. May God help these innocent sheep you're leading. May they hold to your word, not his word, to what the scripture says. So if I happen to slip beyond the veil, like they say, to be with the Lord, I just want you to know I appreciate every one of you as a Christian. And God loves you, so did Brother Branham. That's why they're ministers. They stand here every day. You think Brother Green stand here for nothing, in jeopardy, facing problems, troubles up and down? Brother Green and Brother Newton Bennett and the ministers that God has called, as many as the Lord has called, God bless you. And I can't say this brother's name, Brother Green, the brother that went up to Apache.
Caleb.
Kayla, yes, I appreciate you very much on that trip. Thank you, sister, and I really enjoy being with you that day. Yes, you remind me so much of Oscar. So those of you who don't know Oscar, never met him. Yes, amen. Yes, amen. Yes, okay.
That's your brother, Oscar.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, his personality strongly resembles the way he acts. I thought, oh, Oscar all over again, It brought back so many memories and made me so at home, That day we were by the bridge, or it wasn't a bridge, what was it, a dam or something, what it was. And here's this wife, oh dear, don't, And I really thought I was at home, because the way the welcome I received at the, what was it? Apache, yes.
They gave you gifts. That means
Yes,
they
they
believed you.
gave me a necklace and a little basket and a blanket. Yes, and a present. And somebody spoke up and said, I never seen, Apache never present you anything unless they approve of what you say.
That's correct.
Yeah, your sincerity, he said. Yes. It's
That's
not our sincerity, it's his sincerity. I don't want to praise myself, I don't deserve it. It's him, the Lord Jesus Christ. He needs all our praises, yes. So thank you
Sister
once
Louise
again,
is a
Brother
faithful
Green,
daughter of God.
And God bless you.
I've told the local congregation here for
I'll say,
years,
yeah.
but Sister Holmquist back there sends cards, but I get as many cards from this lady as I do from anybody in the world. because for years she has faithfully sent me her tithes. Not a time has she missed it, I know. And it's always in a nice card with a prayer and the prayer requests he wants us to pray for. And I've told you people that I can't even spend them. They're just too sacred to me. So I had a place that I put them. And when she told me she wanted to come, I said, Lord, I'm going to take them and I'm going to sponsor her trip down here.
Yes.
And so I never paid for her trip.
Oh.
And we still got some money in the drawer too, so you can go shopping if you want to.
Maybe, no.
And the other day I called that nice lady back at that travel agency. When I saw the ticket, I saw it wasn't on the bus, and I called her to pay for your bus ticket, and she said you'd already paid for it. So that money's coming back.
Oh, wow. I don't know what he'll say.
You can buy something for Russ and take it back to him, huh?
No, I don't think he would like that, but, you know.
Your bus ticket was a little over $500. Your plane ticket was a little over $500.
Yes.
And the insurance was $154.
$154.
And so it's all paid for, but you paid for the bus ticket, but we got to refund that. So
well,
look at that. You got some money in your purse.
Now, where would I go shopping? There's only 2 stores. After seeing your store, you know, I'll say, well, you know, do something.
You'd already been shopping in Edmonton, so.
Yes, we did.
And of course, I can't see you riding a horse in these skirts here back in the bush, so you're going to have to go back to your fashion up there when you get back.
To do that.
You get back to the bush. God bless you folks
God
tonight.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Green. Thank you very much. I appreciate you very much.